Hi everyone, I'm April and you're watching the Tangled Cat Speaks, and this is episode number 60. It has been a little bit since I've been here. I missed you guys. I do need to say that because I wasn't podcasting because I was a little bit down, having a little bit of the blues, so to speak. I think I mentioned in the past that my son had graduated, my youngest had graduated from high school, and now he just recently moved out right around my last podcast. So he moved into an apartment with his girlfriend. They're not far, they're maybe about 30 minutes away from me. But it was sad. It really threw me into the doldrums. So yeah, I was a little bit blue. I wasn't knitting a whole lot for a while there. I think the last time that I podcast, I was talking about my other side shawl, the two shades of gray that I was designing. I haven't worked on that at all since my last podcast. And also my shawl that I'm using, the colors from the yellow from the On Luna Time book that Amber Crawley had written, and she's also the dyer behind Maker's Haven. She did a really beautiful yellow to coincide with the book, and she sent out a book box and all of that. I'm pretty sure I mentioned all of that. I was working on that with two other coordinating colors for a shawl, and I just hadn't really been working on that either, for a couple of reasons. Like I said, I was a little bit in the doldrums and I wasn't knitting as much. I kind of lost my mojo. But also because Amber Crawley did come up with another book, a novella. Where did I put it? It's this one is called Like a Dream, and I got super excited because she also did a book box for this, which I missed. I didn't get the book from her website. I got it off of Amazon because at the time I think on her website she had sold out of the book boxes, or I just didn't know where to find them. I don't know. It was probably me, but I ended up buying the book separate on Amazon. So this is the book. I'm covering her name, and it's a short little book. It's not part of the On Luna Time story. I think it's in the same area, like it's set in the same area, but it's not part of that story, I don't think. Who knows, maybe there'll be more books and they'll tie in, I don't know, but for right now they're two separate stories. And she also did a book box for this, like I said, but I didn't get the book box, so I didn't get the little gifts that you open and they're marked on certain pages. When you get to that page, you open that gift. I didn't get that, but I did end up, she got some sets sold separately. Since I already got the book, I was able to buy the colors separately. It was 3 150-gram skeins. No, 3 50-gram skeins, so you ended up with 150 total of sock yarn, 3 different colors, and she was doing a make-along. So I did a shawl. I used the Follow Your Arrow shawl. I believe it was Isolde Teague. I'm gonna have to check that. But I started working on that, and what I had done was I bought 2 sets of the yarns that Maker's Haven had dyed for this book. The first one was the original set. The second one she was selling at a discounted price because it was kind of an oops. Another color had accidentally gotten onto one of the skeins in the set. So I'll show you those 2. I'll try to hide where the oops was, but these are 2 of them. Well, that I got all 3. So it's kind of hard to see this one. This one is more of like a mauvey, dusty, pale pink. It kind of looks tan, but it's got a pink tinge to it. This one is cream with a lot of pink speckles, pink and orangey speckles. And then this one is orange with, again, this was in the oops set, and I think the dark burgundy here is a lot more pronounced in this skein than it was in the original skein because it was more speckly. And I'll show you that because I did finish the Follow Your Arrow shawl. I worked on this like monogamously. I had to work on it. And if you remember, Follow Your Arrow shawl was on Ravelry years ago. I think she's done 2 of them, Follow Your Arrow and Follow Your Arrow 2. And what she had done was come up with 5 different clues, and each clue had an A or a B, and you had to decide when you got there which A or B you wanted to do. So what I did in this particular case was I got my dice rolling app and I rolled ahead of time. I choose A, 1 was A and 2 was B. So when I rolled the dice, it came up with, you know, the choices. And so I ended up, I think all of these ended up being B's, except for the last one was an A. So this is the shawl that I ended up with. And let me get you a little bit closer to this orange. You can see that there is hardly any of the pronounced burgundy. It's very lightly speckled with the burgundy. So I think that this one was definitely part of the oops set. So this one was an oops too. The only part in the set that wasn't really oopsed was the speckly pink. But anyway, so I had to, and it was a good thing that I had to, because I used the entire first speckly pink in this shawl. You can see I used it there at the top, and then I used it as the border. This shawl turned out so pretty. I used the entire, you can see here, it looks better here, the solid color here in this lace was the dusty mauvey tannish pinky, I don't know what color to call it. It's but I used that entire ball. I think I had maybe a couple of yards left for this lace section. And this lace section I did a total of 3 times. The section 3 I did 3 times. So the shawl is a lot bigger than what it called for in the pattern. Now everything was going symmetrical until I got to section 2, where I added this, and it ended up with some short rows in the color I was using as my second color, the orange. So I have this blip of short rows on one side. So normally when your shawl, when you make it, this is your center and this goes behind your neck. That's not the case in this, because that kind of off-centered it, which is fine. It turns out beautiful. It's just a little bit different, and I love how it looks. It's huge, as you can tell. I can't stop looking at it. I have it tucked in my ends. That's fine. I'll get to it. But so this is what I was working on during my doldrums, and it really, really helped because the colors are so bright. Definitely not my normal color palette, but it turned out so beautiful. I adore it. And the story, the Like a Dream story was beautiful, and it was kind of the right time to do that particular pattern, the Follow Your Arrow, because another big thing happened during this time. I also went ahead and put in my official retirement in the middle of August, and my last day of work was the 31st of August. So I am officially retired as a 911 operator after having done 25 years. That was another reason for a little bit of the doldrums. It kind of freaked me out. I still don't have another job, and I definitely need another job. I have enough money to tide me over for several months until I can get one, but I have been in a government position for 25 years and have had a stable position for 25 years. So this 2 weeks that I've had with not even 2 weeks, I think it's been a week and a half, and I am panicking. I'm having a little bit of anxiety over not having a job yet, because I don't like this free-floating feeling, knowing that I still have obligations financially. Now, if it was fine and my retirement was able to cover all of that, shoot, I'd be on cloud nine. But I am a little bit anxious because my retirement isn't going to cover everything. I don't have to get anything. Seriously, I can get a minimum wage job and it would be perfect. So I shouldn't be stressing as hard as I am, but I am because I'm so used to the stability of having had a government job for 25 years. But I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm proud of myself. It was a wonderful career and I enjoyed it. But this follow your arrow really is, I'm following my arrow. It was time for me to leave. I could have stayed as long as I wanted. I wasn't told to leave or anything like that. But I wanted to. It was time. When you work in a position where you're dealing with somebody else's crises all day long, every day, nonstop, and we were working so many hours. I think these past few months I have had no less than 60 hours a week. So it was wearing on me, and I do love being a 911 operator. It was one of the best choices that I had ever made in my life, and I didn't want to leave that position feeling burnt out or feeling disgruntled about it or not liking my job and complaining about it for the rest of my life. You know, I didn't want my last memories to be overwhelmed. So I went ahead and made the choice that it was time for me to get out and do something different. So I did. I changed my path and I followed a different arrow in my life, so to speak. So it was kind of fitting that this was my my doldrums knit. And it worked. You know, when I had it blocking, I think that's the backside. When I had it blocking, I think that's when the blues kind of went away. I will admit that a couple weeks ago, I went and saw my doctor because I have been nonstop crying, except for the couple of times that I went on some trips, and I'll explain those in a little bit. But when I wasn't on a trip with my family, I was at home and I was in my head and I was down and I was crying almost at the drop of a hat, any little thing. I was crying. And I did go see my doctor. It had been a long time since I felt that heaviness, that sadness. And I didn't want it to get into a depression because I have experienced it before. And I remembered that feeling and it felt like it was starting to creep up on me. So I did go to my doctor and she did prescribe me Paxil, which is what I took 20 years ago when I went through postpartum depression. And I did take it for 4 or 5 days. I don't know if it's because I'm older, my chemical balance, my chemical makeup has changed, or maybe I just didn't need it as bad as I did, but I had to stop after a few days because it was making me so jittery. I don't remember having that. I was jittery and nauseous, and I don't remember having that feeling with the Paxil it was 18 years ago. I don't remember having that feeling back then. And this, I thought, I'm going to give it a little bit and see if it'll go away. But it didn't seem to, and I wasn't able to sleep, and it just seemed to make my anxiety more because now I was thinking, I can't sleep and I'm not feeling well, and what do I do? And so I went ahead and after a few days got off the Paxil slowly. I mean, you're not supposed to just go cold turkey. So I cut it down. So I took 3 days to slow it down, and now I'm not taking it anymore. But I haven't gone back to that feeling that I need to cry every second. I just flipped my pen off the dresser, but I haven't gone back to where I feel like I need to cry every 5 seconds. So whether it was the Paxil that got me over that little hump for that week or so, or the actual finality of not being at work anymore got me over that hump, I don't know. Maybe it was these beautiful colors that got me over it, but just being done with it, seeing it blocking, I realized that I was happy. There was joy in my heart. Like I said, I still have a little anxiety, but I'm not depressed like I was. Like I feel better. I do have a follow-up with my doctor about those pills, so we'll talk about that and see what she thinks. But for as of right now, I'm not taking it. But I do feel good. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm back, because I feel better, and I wanted to come and visit with you all again. And I hope that you understand my long hiatus. I want to get back to this. I wanted to start off bright and early. So my hair, I literally got out of the shower and just threw a ribbon on and pretended like I actually did something with it. Actually, what it is I don't know if I showed you a while back. All of 2018, my head was shaved underneath, and I just had this long bit, and I would either pull it up and let the shaved part show, or I would wear it down and make it look like I had a bob, and you couldn't tell at that point that it was shaved underneath. But I had been letting that underneath grow, and as you can see, it's pretty much grown. So I've kind of evened out the layering, and I wanted to see if I can go for a while without feeling the urge to straighten my hair. So I looked up the curly girl method. My best friend has been doing that for a while, and so I looked that up and how that works, and so I got some hair product, and I'm just trying to be okay with my hair being so wild. I wish that I had curls like my friend does. She's got these beautiful tight ringlets. I don't have that. I have more of a wave in places, and in some places it doesn't even look like it's got any curl. It just like here, this curl here wants to mess with me. But so I've been trying this this new curly girl method. So I'm trying to feel like I'm okay with this messier look. I don't know. We'll see. But it is much easier, and my hair feels better. But we'll see. This is what I'm working on now. So it'll be a few ribbons for a while. So this was my first completed item. Actually, no, this is my most recent completed item. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I was actually thinking of doing the Follow Your Arrow shawl again, but maybe in a bigger yarn. It's written for, oh, sorry, I just kicked the tripod. It's written for fingering weight, but I was thinking maybe I could do it in a DK, because my son moved out, I've been rearranging all my yarn and putting everything in there. I've been pulling things out of my closet. I didn't realize I had as much as I have. I have an entire wall of yarn, and it's beautiful now that I have it all set up. I didn't realize I had as much DK weight yarn as I do. It's kind of shocking to me. I didn't realize. I mostly have fingering weight, but apparently I went crazy at one point with a lot of DK. So I got that. So that was my most recent finished object. And yes, I'm counting it as finished object, even though I didn't tuck in my ends. I think I did talk about this the last time. This was part of a knit along that I was, or read along that I was doing. Again, there are ends sticking out here. This was a scarf that I had knitted, or I'm sorry, crocheted. This was using thread weight cotton. I always want to say Annie's, but I think it's Aunt Lydia's. Aunt Lydia's cotton, thread weight cotton, size 10. And this was oh, I can't remember. It's ocean side. I don't remember the colorway, but it's got greens and lavenders, different shades of blue, and there's this beautiful lacy edge. And then I bought this vintage looking pin to close it, because this pattern was a vintage pattern, a free crochet pattern. I think it was freevintagecrochet.com or something like that, and it was called the French Scarf number 2020. It was in an old vintage booklet, and it's online now. The pattern is online. And so this is, so I went on to Etsy and I found this beautiful vintage, I don't know if it's an actual vintage scarf clip or if it's vintage style. But regardless, it looks beautiful, and I made this a little bit longer than what the pattern called for, but that way, because I didn't want to be taking the pin on and off because it was a little snaggy when I was sliding the lace through it. And it's just a crocheted mesh. It's super simple, and it's just really pretty. But I made it a little bit longer so that I don't have to keep taking the pin off, and I can just put the scarf on. Oh, you can't really see. Let me see if I can, without kicking the tripod this time. You can see, and I think it would look really pretty, you know, over a plain top. Maybe, you know, in the office or something when, if and when I get another job. I can wear this in an air-conditioned room and have the back of my neck and everything feel nice and warm. It's cotton, so I'm sure I could wear it all year round and not feel overly warm. So that was one of the first things that I finished after the last podcast. What's next? Oh, so I did one big project, and this is a worsted weight crocheted shawl, and I can't remember if I mentioned this to you guys the last time. Sorry, it's snagging. But it is using Karen Cakes yarn. I got 3 skeins, actually 3 cakes, and it was the white truffle colorway. So this is the Secret Paths shawl, and I don't remember her name, but I will put it up here. And it's huge. It is so huge. This, I am 5'3". The bottom tip of this triangular shawl hits me just above my knee, like the back of my knees, because I do wear my shawls over my shoulders. It's huge and it's snuggly, but it's lacy and it's so pretty. I used 3 cakes, and that still left me with 3 rows to finish completely. I mean, it's crochet. I could have finished anywhere, but I really wanted to finish the last bobble detail here. So I did get some one skein of I believe it was Red Heart Super Saver in a similar color. It doesn't quite match the other greens, but it's close enough, and it's a border. It's fine. I still love it. I still haven't tucked in my ends. Ends are my nemesis. Don't like it. But it's huge and it's gorgeous and I love it, and it's going to be so snuggly in winter. So I finished that super quick. It was done on my size N crochet hook. Oh, I can't remember the millimeter. I'll have to put that up here too. But I did that during a road trip. I mentioned I went on a couple of trips this summer. One of them was to Carlsbad Caverns in Carlsbad, New Mexico. I hadn't been there since my children were really, really young. So it was kind of nice. 2 of my kids got to go. My third one, he had just gotten another job, and so brand new, he wasn't able to take time off. So 2 of my kids and my mom, we drove all the way down to Carlsbad, which is about a 4-hour drive, 3.5, 4-hour drive. And so my son drove, and I got to crochet the entire way there and the entire way back. When we started the trip, I was already 1 cake into this shawl, and so I did 1 cake there and 1 cake back, and it went so quick. I just had to do the border when I got back. It went so quick. It's easily memorizable. It was just a delight to crochet. So, and it was fun because I hadn't really done a whole lot other than that scarf and this is like, I haven't really done a whole lot of crochet in the past recent years. So it was just so nice. And Carlsbad was exciting. We had so much fun walking. This time we got there a night early, and we stayed to see the bats come out. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Carlsbad Cavern, but it houses a lot of small bats, and I'd never seen them before. I mean, it's strange the places that are around you in your state, in your home area, and you don't go see them. So I'd been to Carlsbad Caverns, but we didn't stay for the bats at that time because the kids were young and they were fidgety and they didn't want to be out at night. So this time we got to stay. We got to go at night and watch the bats come out so they can go feed. So we're there at the main entrance to the caverns, and as the sun starts to set, this wave of bats just come out, and I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking that these bats were going to be like the size of a large kitten. No, they weren't. They were literally this big. Their body was maybe the size of a plum, a small lemon, and their wingspan was this big. So I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking that their body was going to be the size of a small kitten, and they were going to have these long wings, but no, that this was the full size. And so they just came flying out. They were almost the size. It was hard to distinguish between them at first, between I don't know what kind of birds, I think they were swallows. I can't remember. Small birds. And they came out, and you can just see them, and it's weird. They come out like this cyclone pattern. They don't just come out and fly. They come out and then they swirl, and then little by little they start breaking off of this cyclone and just head off, and you see them trail off into the distance, probably heading towards the nearest body of water because they've been sleeping all night or all day. So it was really, really cool. We got to see these bats, and then after that, we went back to our hotel and hung out. And then the next morning we went back to the caverns and went and explored down in through there, which we had done, like I said, when they were really little. But it was really, really cool for them to watch them experience it as adults. My mom had never been. So it was a really good experience. And if I can get some of the pictures to look good, I'll put some of the pictures up here too. But so that's what we did. That was one of my trips. Um, One of my other trips that I did was the big one that I had been telling you all about for a little bit. Was I went to Dallas to go see Avi Kaplan in concert for his Other Side tour. I had mentioned back in April that I had seen him on his first live solo performances in Nashville. Well, this second one in Dallas was part of an actual tour with more songs, and he had somebody headlining for him, or somebody opening for him. He was the headliner. It was just amazing. My older son and my mom went with me, and we drove all the way to Dallas, which was a long drive, but good company, good music. I had my knitting. It went smoothly. It seemed quicker than what it was. We had an awesome time, and we went to Dallas, and we got to see more of my friends that I had met on Twitter. I think I mentioned that there's a lot of people that I met on Twitter because of Pentatonics and because of Avi Kaplan. We only know each other through Twitter, and I met a few of them and roomed with a few of them when I went to Dallas, and I met up with a few of them again in Nashville, and I met a few more that I had been friends with for a couple of years now via social media. So it was very interesting. It was so neat it was like meeting sisters. It was just amazing. We had a blast. So I will put up a couple of short clips from the concert as well. I didn't get a whole lot because I was watching and just mesmerized by his voice and his words and his everything.
Early in the morning, I feel stones upon my chest that I carry to the evening till I lay back down where I lay back home to that cool summer breeze and those old evergreens, the only place to rest my weary bones. Going strong, headed up, down the river, oh Lord, I feel the reveille, I feel a change on the rise.
So anyway, that was that. I had an enjoyable time at the concert. But again, I was not really doing a whole lot of knitting after that. I tried to get back into some of the other things, but I was feeling the blues, knowing that I was going to be retiring and still feeling sad about my son and everything. But then I got my mojo back, like I said, with the Follow Your Arrow shawl, using the Maker's Haven yarn set for Amber Crowley's Like a Dream book. Now, Maker's Haven, who is Amber Crowley, she posted that she wanted to do the knit along. I think it's a scrappy knit along hosted by Hello Stella on Instagram. So I started following Hello Stella, and I found Maker's Haven was doing the Agnes sweater. So I decided I wanted to see what this Agnes sweater was about, and it turns out it's basically a DK weight sweater pullover. And I thought, you know what, I could do a DK, especially now that I know that I have DK. But I started this before I was moving all my yarn and found out that I had all this DK, so I decided to make it scrappy. Maker's Haven was making hers scrappy, I believe, too. So I went and got a I got one, I'm sorry, it's not a DK weight, it's a bulky weight. So I used a DK, a lace weight, and a fingering weight. And I came up with, which brought me to a bulky, and I'm using a size US 11. I don't remember how many millimeters that is. But so I'm holding 3 strands together, and honestly, these are 3 yarns that I didn't like individually as much as I did when I first bought them. The first one I'll show is the fingering weight. This is actually the second fingering weight. The other one is a lighter color, and I'll show it here. It's this really pale teal. That's called, this is Knit Picks Diadem. I want to say that it's silk and alpaca. But I ran out of, or I thought I was going to run out of the lighter color, which is called tourmaline. This darker color is called jade. I thought I was going to run out, and I've never done a sweater, and I wasn't sure how it was going to look on the sleeves and blah, 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 blah. So I went ahead and I stopped the body, and I did the sleeves, and I wasn't sure how much I was going to have. So that's what I did. The second color is this here, which is looking a little red. It looks red here, but it's actually a vibrant royal purple. It's got some blues and this yellowy green color. This is a lace weight bamboo tinsel from Yarntopia Treasures that I've had for a good 10-12 years. I have a bunch of this yarn. A lot of it is in fingering weight, but this one happens to be in lace weight. I have 2 of these, and it looks so pretty. Just, you know, when you see it in the hank, and the colors are lined up, and it's twisted, and it just looks so pretty. But when I wound it up, I tried knitting something else with it, and it just was like, why did I get this? We know yellow is not my color. This has a lot of yellow in it. but it just looked so pretty. It was so tempting in the hank form, but looking at it like this, I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. And then I think I told you a while back I had some cornmeal colored DK yarn from Knit Picks that I had for years and years and years, and I decided to over dye it, and that didn't work, so I tried over dyeing it again, and it still wasn't my favorite thing. It was this foresty green color, and I don't know if you can pick out the foresty green color in here, but I held all three of those together. So they're three colors that I don't necessarily love. I liked them at one point, but I fell out of love. But holding them together, and you know, I think it looks okay. It'll be nice for just a pull over around the house kind of sweater. But again, I wasn't sure how much of the lighter fingering weight yarn that I was going to have, so I went ahead and stopped it. And so I think I got my arms and my body about even at the color change. And I switched it for this because I have two of these. I have this, the rest of this, and one more full skein of this dark color, so the rest of it is going to be dark. But lo and behold, I ran out of the DK. I had 738 yards of the DK, and I was hoping that would be enough, but it wasn't. So I ended up going the other day to Knit Picks, and I went ahead and ordered 3 skeins of a DK. The one that I had been using was discontinued years ago, but they have another DK that I think is going to work, and it's in a foresty green. So I think that when it comes and it ends up being blended with these other 2 yarns, you're not going to really see a big difference. So now at this point, the sleeves are about 3/4 length, but depending on how much of the yarn that I just bought I end up needing for the body, if I have any left, I might make those sleeves a little bit longer. I'm okay if they're short because I usually tend to slide up my sleeves to my elbow anyway, and because this is a bulky way, it'll be more comfortable that way, but we'll see. I am kind of on the fence about that. So this is what it looks like. It's not the prettiest of things, but it is my first sweater, and it does fit. I've tried it on a couple of times. It does fit. It's a boxy sweater, you know, it's not very well shaped. I am making it longer than the pattern, the Agnes pattern calls for. I think it's more of a just right at your waist kind of length. I'm not doing the pockets. I don't need more extra bulk in the midsection area. So I'm not doing the pockets. I think that's the only thing that I'm modifying on that. But everything else I'm doing to pattern. I'm making it longer, no pockets. It's the only differences. I'm happy with it. It's not the most fashionable sweater ever, but I've been knitting on it like the wind because it's bulky. It's just going and going, and I just have been doing it. And because I don't have to get up early in the morning right now because I don't have a job, I've been knitting until the wee hours of the night, and it probably would be done by now if I hadn't run out of the DK. And like I said, I do have a lot of DK, but most of it is a natural color. And I thought about dyeing it to see if I could get the foresty green again, but I didn't want to risk it and have it be too much of a difference, and then I would be upset. So I just went ahead and bought a little bit of forest green. It'll be a close match and it'll be fine. So I went ahead and did that. So as soon as I stopped that, and I'm waiting for that Knit Picks yarn to come in, I decided to pull out some yarn that I just recently got from Etsy. No, I'm lying. That's not from Etsy. She has her own shop. It's called Sock Obsession Yarns. I think that I saw her on Instagram. I'm pretty sure that's where I saw her. So I went on there and on her website, and I started scrolling around, and oh my god, so many beautiful colors on sockobsessionyarns.com. So many beautiful colors, and I literally had a cart that was almost $130. And I was like, no, April, you have to pare this down because you have an entire wall of yarn in that other room. No. So I limited myself to 2 DK weight skeins. It's a DK weight MCN, so merino cashmere nylon. And this is called River of Wine. And it is absolutely stunning. I love it. I bought 2 of these. And originally I was thinking I wanted 2 knee-high length DK weight socks. I don't know why. I'm in New Mexico. I don't need that. But that's what I was originally thinking. So I started some socks, toe up. And this is also the first time that I'm using a rounded toe. Years ago, I bought a sock. It was called Sock Cocktails from Knit Picks. It was a book. It came with top cuff down and toe up instructions. It gave you 3 different kinds of heels and 3 different kinds of toes. And I had never used the round toe before. So the round toe up. That makes sense. So I decided I was going to try that with these socks. So I did. I've got a round toe. And then I decided to use I call it Skype. I don't know if that's how people say it, but it's a Skype pattern. And basically what it is 1 row. You need an even number of stitches. And the first row is slip 1 stitch, knit the next stitch, yarn over, and then pass that slip stitch over both the knit and the yarn over. And you just do that all the way around. And then your second row, you're knitting all the way across. So it creates this beautiful, it looks almost like a herringbone pattern, but not quite. And it's a little bit open. There's a little bit of laciness to it. I don't know if you can see the light through there, but there is a little bit of laciness to it. It's stretchy. It doesn't feel like when you do some slip stitch patterns on your socks, like it just has no give. This has some pretty good give to it. And it's a pattern that I've seen in, I think it's in one of the Barbara G. Walker books. I can't remember. I just know that I came across it years ago. It was one of those that was easily memorizable, and I'm like, I'm just going to do that because I think the slip stitches will really play with all of these colors really, really well. So, and I'm doing a Fish Lips Kiss heel. Now the problem I was having is this yarn looks very variegated in the cake, but in the hank you can see that it's very sectioned. So what was happening, and which happens a lot with hand-dyed yarns, is you tend to get pulling that ends up spiraling, which is fine, but I really wanted all of the colors to play with each other. And what was happening is in the spiral, the greens, this really vibrant green here was only meshing with this purple, and then all of these blues were just blues. So it was spiraling green and purple, and then the other half of the sock was blues and greens, and I didn't want that. I wanted this more all over, all of the colors playing together. So I decided to use both balls at the same time, switching every single row. And so I figured they're both going to spiral, but they're going to spiral at in different places so that the colors have more of a chance to play together. And it's been working out really, really well. The toe was only the first ball, and the heel has only been the first ball. Now, like I said, I was going to do this as knee-high socks, but I decided no. I think these are going to be shorties because I love these colors so much that I think I want a cowl. And I'm thinking maybe the honeycomb cowl, because I think that has slip stitches in it also. So whatever I have left from these shorty socks, I'm going to make a cowl, because this needs to be advertised. I love it so much. So I'm holding them together. This is, I've made this sock before, but I had to go back and rip the heel, the cuff. I'm only doing, I think, 1.5 inches of cuff once I finished the heel. So I had that 1.5 inch cuff done. I was ready to, I had already bound off. And I even cut this yarn. That's why there's only a little ball here. I had cut it. And then I put it on and I'm like, it's a little floppy. It's a little long. I don't know. And then I thought, you know what? It's DK. It's not like it's fingering and ripping out all of the fingering weight. DK actually knits up really quickly. So I went ahead, pulled out the cuff, pulled out the heel, and ripped out about 6 rows from the foot. So I've just finished the heel for the second time. I've tried it on. Much snugger. Feels better. It's not going to flop around on my foot. Much happier. So I think I'm probably going to end up with more of a 2-inch cuff because I'm going to just finish off this ball. Continuing in the cuff to alternate the balls. Then I'll make the second sock, and then whatever's left I think is going to be a cowl. Super excited by that. They're really quick. Quick knits. And then I think, I don't know, as far as what I'm going to work on next, I definitely want to get back to the Luna shawl and the other side shawl, and I may start something else new. I don't know. I have this wall of possibilities in there, and now that it's all on display and not hidden in drawers and cabinets and closets and everything, it's all on display. It's like that room, my son's old room, is now my own personal yarn shop because it's a lot of yarn. It's ridiculous. So as far as new yarns, like I said, I'm waiting for Knit Picks to send me this other DK for my sweater. And then I have, in November, I have one more installment for the Where We Knit, what do you call it? The Where We Knit Indie Untangled subscription. Jeez Louise, April. Hold on one second because I do have the August, but I forgot to bring it in here. Hold on one second. Okay, so what I have is August 2019. The designer, and if you don't remember, the Where We Knit Indie Untangled subscription is they pair a designer and a yarn dyer. And so the designer on this one is Woolly Wormhead. And wait, hold on. Now I'm lost. Yes, so so they did a hat. Woolly Wormhead designed this hat. And it's Asylum Fibers came up with the yarn. So it's this really pale, dusty pink. It's very similar, as a matter of fact, to that dusty pink that's in my shawl. That's pretty cool, actually. So this is, it looks like a DK. Yes, it's a DK on the Daft base. It's the colorway called Welcoming. And it's 100% superwash merino, 219 yards for 100 grams. So there's all of that information there. And like I said, oh, I bent it. Hold on. Asylum Fibers. And I like this on the side. It says, embrace your crazy. Totally. I'm totally doing it. So this was the the August 2019 installment. And they also sent, it's a gift, it's a little gift. So this is, it looks like what they're calling the sheep squeezer. A yarn sock by One Sock Wonder Bags. And this is super cool. It is literally just that. To hold your cakes, I'm assuming. Let me see. I'm going to put my... my DK sock yarn in here. Isn't that cute? And let's see, what is all on this? There's sheep in a winter hat. Some little notions and whatnot. And then there's another one in a red hat. Super cute. Very exciting. I love getting little gifts. And this is definitely going to go into some good use. So that was this is some new yarn that I've got. Again, I probably won't be getting anything else except for that Knit Picks yarn and the Indie Untangled for November. I'm considering doing it again for 2020 and getting the 4 installments. But I'm trying to think really hard about that because, like I said, I've got a lot of yarn, but it's so nice to have something new and to have it come in the mail and just so I don't know, I'm leaning very heavily towards going ahead and doing the next subscription if they do it again. I hope they do. We shall see. So I'm going to just talk real quick about some of the other things that I've been doing while I was in the doldrums. I did a lot of audiobook listening. I'm just going to kind of name them. Some of them I might go into a little bit of detail. But there's Murder on the Links by Agatha Christie. That was on audio, and I think that one the reader was, no, it wasn't Hugh Fraser, it was somebody else. He did a really good job though. Murder on the Links, Agatha Christie. Loved that. Let's see, Carleen O'Connor has a series of books, and this one was called Murder in an Irish Pub. And I think I did mention this one. It was a little bit difficult for me because the person who was reading it didn't have that good of an Irish accent, so it was a little jarring to my ear, but it was okay. It was good enough. I liked it, and I'm still, if there's other audios, I'm still gonna listen to them. I really enjoy the stories, so there's that. The other audio that I did was 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I think I'm glad that I got it on audio. I don't know that I would have been able to keep up with this in paper form. It was very convoluted, a lot of different twists and ins and outs. It's like a Groundhog Day Agatha Christie murder mystery. It was very convoluted, and I don't know that I would have been able to keep up reading it. It's a little bit different when somebody's reading it to you. It's kind of like how I feel about Jane Austen, and some of the other older classics like 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and those, they're hard for me to read, but I can listen to them and understand them. So this was kind of in that area. I'm glad that I listened to it as opposed to actually reading it, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I think this was his debut novel, which is really interesting because it was a really good story. It was very interesting. It was really, really cool. So I'm excited to see what this author does again. So speaking of actual books to read, I had a couple on my Kindle. I finished one called The Knitting Fairy by Jamie Marsman. Very cute novel about a girl who's a librarian and ends up losing her job and finds work in a knitting shop, and shenanigans happen. She doesn't know how to knit. She doesn't know how to crochet. She learns while she's at the store, comes to find a new passion. It's a really cute, it's not a murder mystery. It is a mystery, but it's not a murder mystery, which is strange for me. I know. So I just started another book by Jamie Marsman. It's also, I think it's in the same universe, so to speak. It's set in the same town as the Knitting Fairy, but this one is called The Brief Haunting of Raspberry Hill. And this girl who always thought that her grandmother had already been dead just found out that her grandmother just died, left her house, which has been purported to be haunted. And she's there with a long lost cousin and her mother. None of the three get along, and the will says whoever stays in the house for exactly a year and some months and certain days will get to keep it, but they have to live in that house exclusively for that amount of time. And it turns out they all have to live there together and blah, blah, blah. This is a really convoluted thing, but there's also weird things happening in the house. So now she's not sure if it's the other two messing with her or if it really is haunted. So it's really cool. Jamie Marsman, I'm enjoying it on my Kindle. And as far as actual tangible, holdable paper books, I've read quite a few. First one I'm going to show you is a kid's book for little kids, and this one I got while I was in Carlsbad. We went to the gift shop, and of course I wanted to look at all the things bat related because we had just got through seeing all of the bats. And so I found this adorable book that I'm going to end up mailing to my niece. She's got 3 little ones, and I think they'll enjoy this, and I think I'm going to give it to them now. I keep saying I'm going to wait for Christmas, but I think I'm going to go ahead and send it to them now. And this one is called Night Song. Look at the bat. He's adorable. Oh. And this is by Ari Burke and Lauren Long. I don't know if you can see that. And it's just a cute little story about a bat who is kind of new to going out of the cave and exploring, and there's certain rules that the mama bat tells him, and he's got to follow these rules. But of course, young bats will be young bats, and he does his own thing. But in the end, it's mama's advice that helps him. So it's beautiful. It's a cute, adorable little book, and I had to get it, and of course I couldn't just mail it off. I had to read it first. So I'm gonna send that to my niece and her adorable little baby bats. Let's see. So I showed you the Like a Dream. I also read, and I think I mentioned this one, An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good by Helene Thurston, which was a Norwegian book, and it was short stories about this little old lady that lives in an apartment complex, and she has a taste for murder, but nobody even suspects her. It doesn't even enter into their minds that it might be her, because she's very, very old, and it's funny. It sounds very dark, and I guess it is dark, but it's actually kind of funny. So I enjoyed it very much. Very, very short book, maybe 80-90 pages. Very, very short. I also read a couple of other books that I went to the library and found just because I didn't know what I wanted, and I was going up and down the stacks, and I found these. The books that I was attracted to were the ones that were super small, again, something under 100 pages. And I found these books. They were by Jeanette Oke. O-K-E. I don't know if it's Okie or Oak. I think she's a Christian novelist. And so, but I found these ones. They were really small. One was called The Red Geranium, which was really beautiful, and this one kind of hit me just because being the caregiver of my mother, The Red Geranium was about a little boy who was sad that his grandmother had to go into a home like an assisted living or maybe a nursing home, that type of thing. They don't really say, but she has to go there. She can't take her things with her. And every time they go visit, she just doesn't seem like the grandma he knows. And he ends up sneaking back into her old house and bringing her a present, which was one of her old geraniums. And it brightens her up and gives her something from home, something to take care of. And sweet little story, super short, to the point, very cute. The other one is Nana's Gift, and this one was also very short, and it's she is given when she's young. This woman is young and she's first married, and it's hard living. I want to say it's like Depression era, and it takes her husband a very, very, very long time to buy her a particular ring that he's been wanting to get her, and it just takes him 35 years because he just can't seem to save enough money. And there's always something that happens, and finally, after 30 plus years, he's able to give her this ring, and each of her daughters uses it for their wedding, and nobody wants it after that. The grandchildren don't want it, except for one. I can't remember if it was a granddaughter or a great granddaughter. She's the one that comes and visits her the most in her old age, and it turns out that all of the older ones decided they didn't want to use her ring, and she just assumed that this one wouldn't either because she's young and modern and everything, and she's like, no, I want to wear it. And so she does, and she said, you know, this is valuable, but I'm leaving it to you, not only because it's valuable, but because you know what it's really worth in here, you know. So it's a really sweet little story. So I read that, super, you know, just before bed, just a quick little short story. It was really cool. Another one that I thought was really weird was by a different author, completely different type of story. This is called The Strange Library, and I think his or her name is Haruki Murakami. Very strange. I don't even understand it still. But it's about this little boy that goes to the library after school. He's supposed to be home for dinner, and it turns out he gets locked in this weird library. In the library seems normal, but then he's taken to this room, and it's in like corridor after corridor in the basement, and locked doors, and he doesn't understand why they keep locking the doors behind him. And it turns out this person that took him down there is some sort of creature that wants his brain, so he makes him read very intellectual, like, reference books. I can't remember what it was that the little boy wanted to read about, but it was in the reference section. And so whenever somebody gets books from that section, they lock them down in this strange part of the library. And then this creature person, whatever, forces them to finish reading it, and then it, to him, makes the person's brains more sweet, and so he wants to eat their brains. And it was really, really weird. It was a short story. I don't fully understand what it was supposed to be, if there was any meaning behind it. It was less than 100 pages. Most of it was illustrations, drawings, and it was just the title is exactly apt. The Strange Library. It was very strange. It was different, and I like reading things that get me out of my comfort zone and kind of show me that there's different things out there. Who knows? I might like it. I don't know that I'll read any more from this author because it was just not my cup of tea, but it was cool. I liked it. It was very different. And then the other thing that I finished reading was part of the knitting. No, I'm lying. She's crocheting. This is a crochet cozy mystery by Betty Hechtman, and I think this was number 11, and it was called Hooking for Trouble. And I think I might have mentioned just that I was going to read this in the last podcast. I finally finished that. So I don't really have a paperback book, right? Or an actual paper book, not necessarily paperback. I have a bunch, but I didn't know what to read. So I kind of just randomly went through my shelves and grabbed this one. And this one, I believe that I snagged from the library. I think I've mentioned several times that my library has a free cart, and they put older books, and I kind of like the old Gothic romances. They're the ones that are, written in, sometime between the 40s and the early 70s. There's a bunch of, they're called Gothic romances, and it's basically this young girl finds herself in some weird other city or country or whatever, and she's in this big house with strangers, usually a governess or whatever. This particular one is called, and there's always something dark and sinister going on there, and she's got to figure it out. And this one is called Who Walks by Moonlight by Marjorie McAvoy. And this one is a young girl who's going to study with a particular piano instructor. And she's got sponsorship from the lady of the house. But when she gets there, the lady of the house is not there. She's with the piano teacher who is ill, so neither of them are there. She ends up in this big house with a man and his wife, the children of the lady of the house. And they seem to not get along. And she's starting to fall for the husband, and who knows what's going to happen from there. I just started it. I'm literally that far into the book. What am I? 20 pages into the book. So who knows what's going to happen, but it says, the little tag thing here says, twice someone has tried to kill her, but Gisela could not leave Castle Wiederbeck as long as the man she adored was blind to the disaster that threatened him. These old Gothic romances just crack me up because it's just funny. And look at how sinister that is. Young girl, big castle in the back, and then some weird hooded dude. Like, what is going, and why is there snow, and why is she out in the dark in the snow? Like, what is going on? There's a full moon, girl, get back inside. I love these old Gothic romances. They make me laugh. So, and they're short. They're usually under 200 pages, so that's going to be exciting. And then after that, we'll see what other kind of books I want to read. So, excuse me. I am going to go ahead and leave you with that because I can feel a tickle starting to happen. Allergies have been going like crazy lately, and it seems to be attacking me in my throat. And so I'm gonna leave you with that. I am so happy that I was able to come back and visit with you all. We'll see where my retirement takes me, and if I get another job soon, I hope. So keep your fingers crossed for that. I will be trying to get more into doing these podcasts regularly again. I appreciate everyone that has come back to watch, who has stayed, who has waited around during my hiatus. And I know that I have been a little bit of a downer in the past couple of podcasts. I've been feeling these doldrums hitting me for a little bit now, and I feel like I'm starting to come out of them. So thank you for sticking around through all of that, and I will see you all next time. I hope that you get to enjoy more knitting. I hope your weather's pleasing to you. I know some people like it hot, some people like it cold. I am a like it cold kind of person, and it is crazy hot for me. But I hope that your weather is enjoyable for you. I hope you get to spend time with your knitting friends, family. Enjoy the rest of your summer, or if you're happen to be from the other part of the world, enjoy your winter. I will talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.